I will exploit my position as a moderator of this panel session and ask the same question as I asked the guys in the last one, which is, since we're talking about data sovereignty as well, like we don't have any real AI hyperscalers in Europe. Do you think Europe will enter the AI race or will just left behind?
Most probably.
Well, I think it has to.
Fortunately.
Since they just shut down the latest Claude, right? Sable, I think that's a big alarm bell that rang. So I think Europe in some way will enter this race. I don't think it's clear yet how, but I think there are plans around to make this happen.
Yeah, this week there were two major articles which were launched in the platforms, and one of them was very direct, and I want to read some passages from that related to this one.
Please go ahead.
In 2023, Anthropic's leaked Series C pitch deck predicted exactly what is now going on. It said, "We believe that companies that train the best 25-26 models will be too far ahead for anyone to catch up in subsequent cycles. They have been remarkably present in many ways, and I think we are now standing inside the moment that they described." Which means we had 3 years to do it, February 2023 to February 2026. That was the window, now it is closed. Which means this, European leaders could have built in this time period, Elon Musk called this, and in 26 months he invested on Grok considerably. European leaders could have built truly sovereign frontier models, they didn't. They could have invested into the resources, they didn't. Don't look at Mistral and the others. It is negligible if you are talking about the Googles and others. By failing to do so, they have consigned themselves to dependence on the systems they do not own and do not control, cannot fully inspect, and may not always be allowed to use. We know what happened with Mythos and Fable last week.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever is going to happen is to preserve the national pride. They are going to create some national, maybe, artificial intelligence systems wrapped around these core models, and then there's going to be a geopolitical or some systemic risk is going to arrive. The plug will be torn, or it's going to be used as a weapon, I guess, and we are going to be, let's say, subject to this type of attack. Second, open models, models can be an alternative, but since the power of these open models are going to increase, there's going to be a major crackdown from the political leaders and from the people because of what they can do. So we are going to see most probably a limitage on the companies and also the population on how we are going to use this model. So I think I am a very much positive person, optimist person, but in terms of European Union, investment leadership, we are almost missing the train.
I would say that I see that Europe is desperately behind in the current phase, but at the same time, technology has certain breaking points where it goes into the new level of something. China has been extremely good in the last 20, 30 years of finding those kind of points and already investing like a long time ahead into the future-proof technology. So at least in my eyes, for AI to become even more usable, it has to go through massive efficiency gain. And that might be an opportunity if Europe takes something seriously. I don't see them taking it seriously.
So let's stay with Margus. Margus, what do you think is the biggest challenge right now when banks moving towards cloud architecture and AI? Is it technology, regulation, or trust?
I would say that for me, the biggest challenge is that, honestly, the big banks generally don't know what to do with it, especially on the board level. The number of people in the board who understand either technology or even worse, AI and their capabilities and how do you need to transform the bank in order to utilize that, practically zero. And meaning that the average bank in Europe is not going to catch up properly to the topic for the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Guys, yeah.
Can I add on this? Because I fully agree with this statement, because this technology is so different. So it's so much changing how we do the business and how the economy is going to look like that maybe in the previous technology revolution that happened in the last 15 years, the top management was not able to understand the full scale of technology, but still the big companies could adapt and could innovate. But with this technology, if the top leadership does not understand the full scale and impact of this technology, it is very low probability that the AI transformation could be implemented in such organization.
I don't think in human history, starting from 2 million years ago, we have any other invention that's comparable to this. And you can see the reaction of the gods, 2 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago to that. So whatever we are going to say, whatever we are going to see in terms of increasing efficiency, automation, is going to be minor to what can happen, because we are talking about a technology which is going to change the structure of the society, structure of the firms, organizational, challenges that's going to bring, societal challenges that's going to bring. I'm not going to go into details of unemployment and this, but it's going to, result in forcing us to reshape everything that we know already. So now we are at the beginning of it, and we have to, not only from the bank's perspective, financial systems perspective, which we can dive into the numbers a couple of minutes, but we have to take this into account while discussing all the other components.
Regulation, right? And if it goes against or pro innovation. So I think actually it can help, especially in Europe, if regulation, for instance, has opened the door with open banking and open finance, has opened the door to a lot of innovation, to a lot of fintechs that in return are pushing the banks to innovate even further. AI goes into that category as well. So I think actually regulation in this matter is helping.
So Tolga, if you were building like a major retail bank from scratch today, what would your tech stack then be? Because like Europe doesn't have its own cloud provider. It doesn't have its own AI provider. It has basically like nothing. You can build something on-prem for sure, but
AI doesn't work on-prem. So it has to be, first of all, it has to be cloud-based. However, cloud-based doesn't mean that you put everything on the public cloud and you just run everything on, on two of the cloud providers. No. There are some, now new literature and new experiences starting gathering around. So first of all, I will do a new bank in the cloud-based. It doesn't have to be public cloud. There has to be private cloud, and it has to be more than one cloud provider to be used. At this point, the major risk of the financial institutions now, which we are also really in fast forward going to that, 88% of all the financial system layers that are using cloud are using two providers. And whichever is using, now it's increasing in the financial system as we see that, in the society, maybe artificial intelligence usage, not very much, but financial system in globally leads the way. However, we are using only 4 companies models. And, more than 90% of them are using the cloud structures that Google, Amazon, and, which are imposed on the online financial system. It's a big risk. So the major part of the new bank using agentic structure should be on the cloud, different companies, so that we are not going to be slave to one of them, and we are not going to take the risk of one provider. And on the most important thing will be, there's a concept of federated AI. Yeah. So this federated AI should be in place, which means that it's not going to share the information among themselves. If I need an orchestrator, which is going to orchestrate all of them, it's going to use the data, which is going to be statistically relevant for my own, so that they don't share the information, critical information among themselves. Important guardrails will be in place. So I will choose the cloud ways, but in a smart way.
Margus?
Well, we actually just, I'm wrapping up the transformation in our bank. We literally built the whole bank from the scratch, but in parallel to the legacy one. We started before the Gen AI kicked in, so therefore we didn't have that kind of pressure that was just mentioned here. But we went for the on-premise in the beginning for a number of different reasons. But I would say that for the average typical bank, and now I'm talking as a technology and product development responsible board member in a way, the biggest problem is rather in the kind of, not in the age of the systems or what kind of technology you are running as your infrastructure. But our biggest problem, honestly, is what I call the grandmother effect. That for the last 30 years we have been those crazy grandmothers who are collecting all kind of crap into their attic and basement and never throw anything away. We are riddled with legacy products, legacy processes that shouldn't belong into the AI world anymore at all, but nobody has cleaned up the house and thrown things away. So honestly, majority of the existing banks, they have to start from that, throw 95% of the things away, the remaining 5 put into cloud, equip with AI and rebuild all your products and processes. But all of the crap that you have already today, it shouldn't belong into the bank anymore in the first place. So the challenge is less about the technology you use. Challenge is purely about business and do you understand what the customer needs next?
Yeah, so in the fintechs, the many of those challenges and issues does not exist. So we as a digital first and digital only company, of course, from the very beginning, we are on the cloud, on the cloud. Of course, respecting every data regulation which is needed. So it means that its data sits inside of the EU data centers, etc., etc. But when we are discussing about the data in the context of AI and what we are now discussing, assuming that the use case for the AI that we were discussing is for an LMM model to consume some business consumer data in order to provide us some, let's say, analysis or advice, which is only one of the use cases. I need to say that from our now experience and what we do, we see that there are many other use cases which even in this very moment can give much bigger impact to the company, either to increase the productivity of the company or even to develop some external applications which maybe can consume less sensitive data. Example, so what we managed to do is that we have built a software factory. So we build trade agents who understand our 3 million lines of code and are able to develop the new code. For this, we don't need to use customer data, but we need, of course, some memory. So with this memory RAG or whatever, so some knowledge base where we are structuring the agentic friendly data to understand the intent, objectives, and everything regarding our code base. And now we are going to extend this into many other areas of the company. For many of them, the consuming the personal data is not a must. So don't be constrained and don't think into the scope that AI models will be used and majorly used in a way that they will provide you some advice based on your customer data. You can use it in many other ways, and it's probably going to be much easier for even the banks to implement.
What do you guys think breaks first when banks or any other companies try to scale AI on a old fragmented legacy infrastructure?
There was a study, I think last year from MIT, and it said that 95% of the pilots, AI pilots, were failing. And there are several reasons for that, but the main 2 ones were data inconsistencies and the use case actually that they used for these pilots. Now, when it comes to banks, they have a lot of systems, a lot of legacy systems, and also new ones. And when you do an AI pilot, it's easy to curate the data and the results will be nice. But when AI is then running on several systems of records that are not in sync with each other, obviously the results are unpredictable. So obviously such a pilot or a project would fail. So I think that's the main challenge that I see, is basically this separate system of records with independent truths, individual truths, not in sync necessarily. I think banks have a big work ahead of them to clean this up, and then they'll get the benefits of AI.
Well, I'm mostly seeing the data and integration problems. Data, obviously, because as soon as you really want to start personalizing anything, then you suddenly discover that the data is very fragmented and using it for the purpose of better process, better customer service is almost impossible. The second one, what concerns integration part, when you really start plugging AI into the use cases, then you start discovering all the different reasons why it doesn't work. So technologically, there is huge challenges within the kind of like more traditional legacy banks in order to really plug anything into that. And I mean, we are now very modern bank. I think even more modern than Revolut today, at least technologically. But at the same time, I must say that at least when I'm looking at the legacy territory, then doing anything meaningful with the help of AI is technologically practically impossible.
So AI breaks for sure. So LLM models are built with two main traits. Trait number one, they are built with the permanent amnesia. Trait number two, they are stochastic. So if you give them only partial data or data which is scattered around without the proper understanding of the context of the intent, you are just amplifying the possibility that any result or any advice or any conclusion will be even more wrong than it is. So the biggest challenge and the biggest number one task for all of the companies, fintech banks, any other company, is to systemize and structure this knowledge in agentic way. Of course, you don't need to start with doing for the whole company. You start department by department. You start small, and then building what now people like to call company brain, where you have company knowledge, but you have customer knowledge, you have many other things.
I think we can split the question into two. First of all, AI, for the sake of AI itself, doesn't work. It's not a company. It's not a software that you just install and ask now, let's solve all our problems. First of all, the organization has to understand what are the use cases, what are the problems, what are the issues that they can solve, and maybe you are not now going to need for all the cases an artificial intelligence program or artificial intelligence logic to solve it. It's not an automation program. We are not talking about it the same anymore. We are talking about, let's say, self-discipline, self-regulating programs. Second, I agree here, but I will come with the data, boring data. AI adoption is constrained by mostly data quality. 66% of all AI vendors which are working with financial institutions say that data quality is the main showstopper. And in terms of completeness, 73%. In terms of legacy data silos, 46%. And sharing restrictions, 41%. Different. On the average, 66% is data quality issues. Talent deficit, we have to talk about it also. 48% are complaining about the talent deficit. This is mostly a regulatory issue because they cannot follow up what's going on. And vendor reliance for core capabilities and procurement versus engineering mindset that doesn't match because we are fast forwarding everything. And also coming to the third problem, fragmented architecture of the legacy systems. So it is blocking the scale and batch error core systems. You cannot do much over them. Like we are trying to run a mobile bank on a old style, these phones. Point integrations, no streaming, and algorithms inherent, which are not very much obvious if you don't dive in the silo system. So these are the most important issues. And if we go to the regulators, 59% of regulators have no plans to collect data on third-party AI dependencies. So financial system is its own. It's moving fast. It's going correctly on a very high-risk train. A regulator cannot keep up. They cannot match. They cannot see you. They cannot audit. And let's see what's going to happen. But these are the major issues right now for data AI integrations. Hopefully, it's not going to be someone coming that, okay, guys, this is enough. We take it from the scratch, but it's too late for that also.
Why can't we use, for example, the synthetic data? Data is a big topic. Good data is what any LLM lives and feeds on. But we also know that the most modern LLMs right now are being learned basically on the synthetic data, right? Why can't we use the synthetic data in banking?
You can use the synthetic data. However, if you want an AI governance, AI structure, if you want to move to this next step, you have to have the data governance, data structure. Okay. It doesn't matter you create metadata or, if you have a junk data, your synthetic data is also going to be junk. It doesn't matter. But if you don't have let's say, proper data structure, but you don't know what it means, you don't know what it says, if it's not really quite, let's say, manageable, whatever metadata that you are going to produce over that is also going to be the case. And you are going to train your models wrongly, which is going to be disastrous. One of the major risks is this. You can run a model 1 million times, 2 years, it can run smoothly, everything is perfect. You trust it too much. It starts making one mistake you will not recognize, and it's going to grow exponentially. We are working in the financial systems. One RON, 1 euro matters for this type of mistakes. If you are talking about, fully trusting an artificial intelligence system with the bad data, the result is going to be for sure disastrous.
We're being rushed, so one last question. Taking all that was said right now here into account, with like AI advancement outside of Europe, etc., with Europe not being sovereign, if we're talking about AI, what do you think we will be talking about in a year of time? Here. Yeah. What we'll be talking here about in like 1 year?
Yes, it's now going to the power issue. Geopolitics and also all these models which are very capable. Whoever governs it, whoever controls it is going to have the power.
Yeah, but even if you have the power, green, but you don't have access to the LLMs, like what are you going to do with the power?
You cannot. So you have to stay as much as in control and sovereign, as much as possible. Now, as I said that today's article I just read to you, as much as possible. If financial system and banks and others have to be, let's say, not relying on the third parties on their part, it has to control its own resources, its own models. Models actually commodity. You can buy it. You can make 95% worse model. You can work with a model which is 95% capable, which works on your own data, because the data, identity, everything is your mode. Financial system's biggest value added is the differentiator is a data that it holds about the clients. It doesn't have to be a perfect AI model or LLM model to work on it. Compared to 100% fully reliable on the third party, I will prefer this one. So the power is going to be the next. That's a question, Mostra.
Well, for me, the kind of like the question about the sovereign model is that, first of all, how do you get one? I don't see anything like really on the market that I could potentially use. But the second part, at least from the risk management perspective, and when I'm thinking about being responsible for the bank's future success, I don't feel that I can rely on some kind of technology that today can be there, tomorrow might not, or might be significantly degraded. And if I build the whole business model on top of something like that, then it's a risk I'm not willing to take, not as a bank at least. Maybe if I'm just a random startup, I'm okay to exist tomorrow, not exist 2 days later. But in the bank, I need to be more reliable as such. Therefore, I would say that I'm just like forced to seek out anything that gives me the more higher confidence, ability to run my business for the next years to come. And that's what I'm not seeing today. The way how the AI is accessible to me as a company is not satisfying my risk management needs in any point. So that's what I would basically look for, something that gives me solid, reliable service that I can trust.
Thank you.
So I believe that we are going to talk about 2 things. So first, I don't see any realistic chance that Europe can come up with the LLM model which can be comparable and competitive with either 505 or any Chinese model. American companies who are leading the game, of course, they have idea to be now 1 trillion IPO and then to grow. They cannot do this if they are constrained only to America. The move that happened last week was a power move. So it means that the AI will become part of the trade agreements between the nations. And we are going to discuss a lot, next year about the trade agreements. So it means to which side Europe will into, and then we will need to include somehow this into the equation. So this is going to be a major topic. And the second major topic is more local, more like practical from the business perspective, that we are going to discuss what are the most efficient harness engineering experiences in which we have developed some meaningful business application and business implementations in AI.
I think we already know FIDA is coming next year, right? Open finance. Most of the fintech activity was focused around payments with open banking. I think with FIDA, there will be a lot of new innovation happening in this space, being in underwriting or credit analysis. Or I think that's where the next step for AI in banking or fintech is. There will be a lot of innovation next year, new startups coming up with new ideas in this open finance space. And I think AI is going to play a major role in that. Further than that, if there will be European AI or American AI or Chinese AI, it's anyone's guess, really. So I wouldn't speculate on that, but I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of innovation based on AI within a year's time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.